President Trump is pushing back this morning against a report that a growing number of Senate Republicans are ready to acknowledge that the president did commit a quid pro quo. The Washington Post reports that the GOP's last-ditch argument will be that the quid pro quo did happen, but the president's actions were not illegal and do not rise to the level of impeachment. Joining us now for a reaction to this and so much more is Anthony Scaramucci, President Trump's former White House communications director. Great to see you. So that's the reporting that they're going to go with. Yes, he did. There's a quid pro quo. We saw the transcript of the phone call, but it's not impeachable.
Okay. Well, we know that it's completely impeachable and completely illegal. So the
They say not illegal. And by the way, they also said that we all know that
it's
impeachment
a FAR Act
is not
violation. So you can talk to Ellie or Preet Bharara. We know that the thing is prima facie illegal. We can argue about whether or not they're going to vote for it or not. I mean, what will be the crisis in our democracy is if they decide that they're going to allow him to break the law. That'll be the first time in 243 years that one person is going to get put above the law away from everybody else. And so if they decide that they want to do that, that's going to be a disruption in the system. So, I mean, that could happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But I think what the good news is, and I see the swing state poll numbers, but the good news is that the differential of the American electorate in general is increasing for impeachment and removal. And I predict that as these things become more public, those numbers will go up into the high 50s,
You're talking
into the 60s.
About the national polling on impeachment, but the battleground state polling on impeachment shows that they're opposed to it. So, and as we know, the battleground states matter more for the election.
Okay, so stay with me for a second, okay? Because back in August, I was a lone operator in the Republican Party, basically saying that this guy's going to go down, there's going to be a full-blown meltdown, and over the next 3 to 6 months, you'll see this happen. What I got wrong is I was surprised by the cowardice, frankly, of the Republican Party in general staying close to this guy because the repetitive lying is out of control. The level of illegality now is completely out of control. And now they're admitting that there was a quid pro quo. So he's doing what he does to everybody. He's moved the goalpost one more time. And now they're going to say, well, there was a quid pro quo, similar to what Mick Mulvaney was saying 2 weeks ago. And so, but that's okay, too. We're going to leave him in power. So again, all of those things may happen, but I predict that they won't because you're looking at the swing state numbers. Yeah. I'm looking at that 49% number, and I'm going to predict here, like I did in August, about the meltdown, that number is going to go into the low 60s.
Yeah, but I guess I would just reiterate that for the election, it doesn't matter what the national polling says. It only matters what the battleground states say.
It will matter to those senators who want to keep the Senate, and it will matter to Mitch McConnell, who will like to keep his job and want to be the Senate majority leader. Assuming that Mitch McConnell has one more term left as a quote-unquote senator, I don't think he's going to want to be in the minority. And I think he will jettison President Trump the minute those differentials start to happen. And they are moving.
All right, here's
what 6 points in the last month.
Yes, the national polls in terms of desire for impeaching and even removing have moved, you're right, towards the public getting comfortable with and approving of and wanting an impeachment process, but not in the battleground states. But hold on a second. I want to ask you about what you tweeted yesterday. You say the truth is coming out and POTUS, the president, is in free fall. What's your evidence that the president is in free fall? Because if you look at it through a different lens, he had a good end of the week last week.
What was the good end of the week?
I'll tell you. So the Tim Morrison, who went in to be deposed, said he heard the call. He didn't hear anything illegal happen on the call. The battleground states do not support impeaching the president. Not a single Republican in the House voted to even move forward with the impeachment inquiry.
A lot of that's predictable.
This morning, he has successfully blocked 4 NSC officials, top officials who were subpoenaed from going to give depositions. That's the reporting that we have. They won't show up. All of those seem like a win for the president.
Well, one, they'll likely be compelled to show up. But let's go back to the other side. I'm a numbers person, okay? A 6-point move on 40 points is a very big move. It's a 15% move in the polling, okay? And that happened over a 4-week period of time. And so what's happening is the facts are starting to come out. And once they move to a public hearing, Allison, I really believe that it'll be irrefutable. And that's sort of what happened during the Nixon situation. Once you went into the public hearings, that wall of Republican support crumbled, and I see that happening. I don't see how they're going to allow this level of lawlessness. And there's other things that are being reported now, whether it's the Jared Kushner Khashoggi thing that one of the whistleblowers mentioned, or other elements of illegality. And so for me, again, I'm a numbers person, plus 15% on the polling. I think that's pretty damning. And I think the bad news is yet to come for the president. I mean, we're just getting started.
But what do you mean the bad news is yet to come? What else is going to come out?
Well, you've got 3 or 4 whistleblowers, and you've got people that have heard direct testimony, and you're going to have a public hearing of those people. There'll be a right for the president's people to cross-examine those people, but I think the evidence is irrefutable. Prima facie evidence with people that like justice, I mean, it's pretty compelling.
Yeah, I just can't tell if this is wishful thinking on your part in terms of Republican erosion, certainly in Congress, or if you're seeing it. But you're predicting it's going.
Well, I'm predicting it because here's what I saw in August, and I have to confess it did clamp up a little. What I saw in August was a very large group of people in the Republican Party, elected officials, saying, okay, this is totally unsustainable and very crazy. Then when the impeachment stuff came out, a lot of those people have gone into an intimidation mode where they've been intimidated by the president and by people around the president, and they've been, given favors by the president to keep silent. But I predict now that those things have happened, and one of those things I didn't get right, which is that I thought that those Republicans who were saying all those things
would speak out.
Yeah, all those things to journalists, all those things to people at CNN, all those things to other people would eventually speak out.
Quickly,
so they didn't do that.
Yeah, quickly, I want to ask you, what do you think about the president calling for the whistleblower to be unmasked, calling for his identity to be revealed?
It's more ridiculous. It's more rank illegality on his part. If you understand the Constitution and the whistleblower protections, what he's asking for is a complete breach of all that. And so it's once again, it's this like outright rank lawlessness that the Republicans are accepting. And so again, they may do that. They may defy all levels of practicality and sense of fairness and justice. They may do that. And that'll put the country in a very, very difficult period of time. But here's the thing I'm pointing out to you. You've had a 15% move. You'll have another 15% move. I believe in the laws of compounding. And when this thing gets into low 60s, these guys are gone.